Hey everyone, and welcome to Television for the Multiverse, the DC TV podcast for Mail Fuzz TV. I am Peter, and over there's Connor, and of course we're going to work our way through this week's DC TV shows. A bit of a weird week because both The Flash and Arrow were off. However, we did have the premiere of Krypton, the new Superman prequel show from Sci-Fi. So basically, this episode is kind of a weird one because, like Black Lightning, because it was the first episode, we actually already recorded the Krypton review on its own earlier in the week. So that'll be edited in here, so that'll be in part of the show later on. Obviously, if you've already seen that review on YouTube earlier in the week, you can just use the timestamps to skip over it when you get there. But we got that. So obviously we had Legends of Tomorrow and we had Black Lightning, so we'll be covering those. We're working our way through Young Justice, so we've got that. We were originally planning to also do an episode of Smallville this week. We opted out for two reasons. One, it was a very busy week, and it was kind of an easy way to save a little bit of time. And two, our discussion for Krypton was about an hour long on its own, so it's not like the show is going to be shorter than usual. If anything, it'll still be longer than usual, despite not replacing the missing shows with something. So we should be fine. That does mean, though, the next time that we are filling in just one show, it will be Smallville that gets filled in. I don't want to say next time we do a fill-in because it may be both anyway, but yeah, because obviously it's Lois and Clark as well that we do, and we did that on its own last time. So that is the plan. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to work our way through the shows, and there you go. So it's actually kind of an easy recording session for us this week because we've got 3 shows to talk about live, and then insert recording here. So first up, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, season 3, episode 15. It's called Necromancing the Stone. Obviously, it's a reference to Romancing the Stone. It's an old adventure movie. Well, it's not that old, but old. If you're a younger folk watching this,
old by modern standards, I guess.
It might have come out of the year I was born. It's around that time, somewhere in that range.
Sounds about right.
So what is this episode? This episode is Sarah gets called to the death totem. Like, it's like, it gives her a vision, it gives her a nightmare, and then she gets called to it, and she goes to see it. She sends off all the other team in pairs to fix various anachronisms, and she touches it, and it kind of takes over. She gets controlled by Malice and becomes like evil Sarah. And we get something of a horror episode where the rest of the crew, as they come back to the ship, end up being attacked by her one by one. So she's kind of the alien, as if this was like a callback to Alien. And there's a big reference to Alien at one point.
There is, yeah.
She's the alien, as silly as that might sound. But yeah, so yeah, at one point, like she initiates, she makes the ship go into the Nostromo protocol. And as soon as they said that, I was like, Nostromo, you cheeky buggers.
Like, oh, it's an Alien episode.
Yeah. So that's good fun. Not the only reference this episode, there was a Doctor Who reference as well at one point.
There was.
I'm using, given how much this show was compared to that back in the early days, especially with what's his face being on here.
Rip. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
See what I did there? That was the same joke they did in the show with Doctor Who.
Not quite, but
yeah, it was like Dr. Watson, and he went Who? He was like, yeah, that's the one.
I got what you're doing, but it doesn't quite work as well if you're not using the actual Who.
It worked well enough. So that was just the episode. So Ava, who's officially, well, almost official girlfriend status. She's staying over seemingly more often because she wakes up next to her and she's like, oh yeah, a nightmare, blah blah. Calls her a girlfriend, and they're like, oh, that's big. Are we doing that? Are we girlfriends now? Is that a thing? And that kind of leads her down a path. But she finds out about Constantine.
Yes, because Sarah's mentioned him in her sleep.
Yes. Which is not at all awkward.
No, it's pretty funny. She's like, oh, so who's this? She's like, well, we had some fun. It was the 60s. Everyone was shacking up. She's like, oh, it was the 60s. It's like, yeah, the year was 1969. I mean, it was like 3 weeks ago, but yeah.
So yeah, actually, there was a joke from last week I forgot to mention that luckily was referenced this week, so I remembered it now. Is last week they had that joke where they're going on the mission, and then like she's like, okay, let's go. And everyone's like, but you usually do a little thing, like send us off with some pizzazz. It's like, all right, legends, put on your Sunday best because the legends are going to church. And she talks about, and that was like a funny line on its own. And then this time, it wasn't as funny this week. It was just kind of like, oh, I've got a headache. No fancy send off.
Yeah, Mama's got a headache. Just go.
Which obviously leads to the whole thing. So no, it was a really great episode. I liked this a lot. every part about it, I think I was into in some way.
Which says a lot, given that Constantine is a relatively major part of this episode, and you have typically been so-so on him.
This was easily the best I've handled him. I think first and foremost, you put him with the legend that is Gary. And I'm not using legend in the sense that the show uses legend. I am just saying Gary is a legend.
Yes, absolutely. You can't even use like the hero, all these words that you typically substitute if you're in that context. It's like, well, they don't really work here.
I know. Everything about Gary in this was great. Same when he was a level 9 warlock, and Ava just going like, Dungeons and Dragons doesn't count, Gary.
Yeah.
Being all excited, even Constantine like saying, "Let him finish his story, love," as he's telling this story because he thinks it'll help this story of his last D&D campaign.
And it goes through all the legends as the D&D archetypes.
Oh yeah, Rory's the orc, and
he was a half orc rogue.
Half orc rogue. I think Zarya was a sorceress. You had I think Ray was the wizard, and
Nate was a bard.
There you go. Yeah, it was all they're going through all the different characters and what they were on the party. Or even just, we had the Bebo socks, and Constantine's like, oh yeah, I gave one of them the power to like talk to like a demon or something through it. Oh, I heard some of the things that came out of his mouth. It was just, it was a whole thing.
Does this make you more optimistic about having Constantine as a regular?
Potentially. I think the key thing is him playing off other people is the thing. Which is actually the very thing that his own show was lacking from the one episode I watched, because it was really just him.
Yeah, he developed a bit of a cast as it went on, but not to the extent where obviously you just throw him in Legends. You got a whole ship full of people to play off with every episode. And
Ava being kind of jealous and like bringing up, I've got an emotional connection with Sarah too. Yeah, I'm doing this spell too. And then hold my hand down. He's like, "Are you serious?" She's just like the one finger just on the hand.
Yeah. And let's not forget the foot.
And the foot, yeah. And Ava, I need you to pass. No, don't say it. The foot. Oh. All good stuff. Gary being seemingly very excited by Constantine kissing him because he makes him have the eureka moment.
Yeah.
All of that was pretty entertaining, and then the stuff in the ship. In fact, one of my favourite jokes was a classic ironic cut, much like the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer used to do it on a frequent basis.
I think I know which one this is.
Yeah, Gary's like, "Hey, no, like we didn't work together. The ledge will be fine as long as they don't split up." Cut to Amaya saying, "All right, we're going to go here. Nate, you go get the totem."
Yeah,
that really cracked me up. What I liked about Sarah being like possessed and evil, like as she was going around the ship, like taking them out as they were going out one by one, is I really liked just how brutal it felt. Like she kicks like Amaya's leg and her knee and breaks her leg.
Yeah.
She breaks Zari's hand. It feels super brutal. And obviously the other thing she does, and this is more, I mean obviously I'm saying it's really Malice that's doing all this, but the other thing that Malice does is that gives like visions. So we see like Wally sees Jesse. Also, I laughed a lot. Is like, "Hey guys, everything's fine. Like, I'll go tie her up. We'll figure out what to do." And then as he speeds off, Zari's like, "Oh, we're screwed."
Yeah.
Of course, Wally gets taken out like a chump. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But hey ho. Which was fine in this episode, because I know one of the things we said is that they can't just always take him out. But in this episode, they were all getting taken out one by one, so he was just one of the list.
He's on level ground here.
Yeah.
Plus, let's be fair, he was distracted.
Yeah. And of course, because Ray get taken out first, Ray get like, because they find Ray, he's like the victim when when Amaya and Zari get back, and obviously there's some maybe guilt on Mick's part because he was supposed to kind of be his backup, in the lab, and he instead went off drinking because
as Mick is wont to do.
Yeah, as Mick does, and let's not forget the other speedster joke either earlier on when he's like, "Hey, where's Mick?" And Wally's like, "Oh, I'll go get him." As Zari tries to warn him. I'm liking that they're kind of a duo, like Zari's kind of because even at the end when she's like, "All right, Wally, you're up," and he just super speed to help fix the ship, and he's like, music to my ears. I'm liking there's a bit of a sort of just a pairing kind of evolving.
I agree. They're playing off each other really nicely, aren't they?
That said, I like Zari and Amaya together as well. When they came back and wait, so the Mona Lisa was a self-portrait? Yep, he was in drag, just casually rewriting history as we walk in the room. So no, all fun stuff, and of course the actual horror elements and the sneaking about the ship. I'm a fan of all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
as you do. So yeah, so obviously, eventually, like Ava's there to talk to her, and like we see Sarah inside Malice's world, and you know, Ruby's there as well, and she's like, "Come over to the dark side. You'll never have to feel regret or guilt for that you know that guy you killed, and the daughter seen him. Like you never have to feel guilt for that." And she's like, "I don't want to lose all my guilt. That's kind of who makes me a person." So, you know, no, and that brings it back. We get the sad ending, although the sad ending actually fills me with hope for the future. I feel like because they're giving us the sad breakup now, they'll be reunited lovingly by the end of the season.
That makes sense.
By the end of the
slightly too early.
Yeah, by the end of the Ava focused episode, which is the next one for the record, just going by the title. Then I expect by the end of the next episode there'll be some sort of a reunion, because Sarah does the whole I'm a flawed person and you deserve better and I'm going to end up hurting you.
And then obviously whatever Rip was on about, she can never learn the truth about Ava.
Yeah.
That'll come out and she's like, oh, you're flawed too. It's cool.
Yeah, it was a nice little moment. I did like how they played it. I think they have chemistry, which is nice, but I liked how they played the like Sarah's about to like turn around and say something. It's like she's maybe about to like just say, oh, you know what, actually forget everything I just said, I'm being an idiot. But like Ava already went through a little time portal, and she finds that note under her pillow later on, and it's like, oh,
yeah, pretty much.
So no, it's working well. But no, I liked all the horror stuff. I liked them sneaking about the ship in the dark and like how intimidating they felt. Obviously, others get visions as well. Zari sees her brother. Nate sees his grandfather. We get some of them sees visions of various things. All that was good stuff. Ava really stepping up and actually having her own plot to try and save the team and save Sarah was kind of nice, because it was like, okay, she's not just like a supporting character at the side who occasionally shows up anymore. She actually is part of the main plot. She was like integral in this episode. So, and even Gary getting a bit more time, because we actually end Constantine's agreed to play some D&D at the end of the episode. That was how we.
I'd love to watch that. I just want an episode of Constantine playing D&D with Gary.
Honestly, he seemed quite. I mean, he was letting him finish his story. He seemed quite into it. He's like, this is fine. Why not? Yeah. It's a whole thing. Of
course, we have the stuff about the totems. Of course, they're all going to be wielding a totem.
Oh yeah, because Nate goes to get the Earth totem, and it doesn't amount to much in this episode, but
it's pretty clear that one totem each.
Because obviously they actually defeat Sarah in the first place, because Mick wields the fire totem.
It's a bit of a New 52 upgrade.
Yeah, which I don't think will be lasting. I think it'll just be for this totem plot, and then
I agree.
And then it'll go away. And he's like, "I'm not a hero. I'm a heatwave." Which actually, that was one of the things. The joke at the start when Wally goes to get him, and he's like, by the way, he sleeps in the nude, and I tried to warn you, kid. I like that he said heatwave sleeps in the nude. He didn't say Mick sleeps in the nude. He says heatwave sleeps in the nude.
He's not comfortable enough with him yet.
Also, I liked it so one of two things happened here. Either when he put the bathrobe on him, he also put his gloves on him, or Mick sleeps in the nude, but with his gloves on. And I'm not sure which was funnier.
I'm inclined to think the latter. For some reason.
I don't know which one's funnier, but I'll take it either way. It was amusing. Yeah. So I applaud. I applaud that joke. But no, I said it was funny. It was exciting. Had character development, and yeah. So no,
Legends has really been firing on all cylinders.
It's on a roll. It's also really notable that we now have only 3 episodes left, because we have 18 episodes this season, so we got 3 left.
Yeah.
So we're really gearing up to the finale now. We're getting there.
We are, and I think it's notable to mention that this is actually dealing with main plot stuff, this episode. And typically this show has been at its worst when it's dealing with main plot stuff.
Yeah. But it did a good job of like sort of compartmentalizing it so that it felt like a sort of standalone story as well.
It did, which I think is a really good way of telling it. But all the stuff with the totems, all the stuff with Sarah, that's all been, the season plot. But it felt much more natural than it ever has before, I think.
Yeah, honestly, if I'm going to criticise the season, is that I don't actually think Malice feels that interesting, like a menacing villain. He's just kind of... he's what the plot's revolving around, and that's fine. It's given us all these fun stories and adventures around it, but he himself is just kind of like, whatever. We'll beat him at the end.
I'm assuming like the one before the end will be actually setting him up as a actual character, something to face off against.
Maybe. You mean guest starring John Noble, that episode?
I do mean that one, yes.
Which is officially called guest starring John Noble. We double checked this. It was corroborated by comments. It's a thing.
I love this show for
guest starring John Noble. Oh dear. That is Legends of Tomorrow. But really good episode. Really solid. So we'll move on then to Black Lightning next, which is season 1, episode 9. It's called The Book of Little Black Lies. So I thought this one started a little bit weird.
Yeah.
It was just the way it kind of went into the Henderson stuff, where the last time Henderson spoke to him, other than like getting like the evidence last episode, it was like, oh, you've went too far this time. Like, you know, it's like, oh, we're cut ties. I don't trust you. And then this scene was kind of like, all right, fine, I'll take a few days off and I'll look into these dirty cops for you. I don't know. It felt like a bit of a.
No, I get you, because it was like, so the whole thing was, right, there's evidence that proves that I'm innocent of killing these people, right? So it was like, oh, it wasn't me. Go see the evidence for yourself. And he obviously never saw that evidence. So
yeah, it's like he's believing that there was evidence and there's a dirty cop problem, and he's willing to look into it, which I guess maybe suggests you could look at it this way, that he has suspicions anyway of there being dirty cops, so he buys that as a very plausible option.
I don't think it's even suspicions, because, you know, Black Lion outright says to him, it's like, no, you know there's dirty cops around.
Oh, sure, okay. Yeah.
And then I guess the way to logic the way out of it is, so Henderson says, oh, I passed it down the chain, I sent someone to go and get the evidence, and then no one ever came back with the evidence, suggests that there's something to hide.
Yeah. So I just thought that was strange, and then he goes off to, like, you know, spy on we've seen the cop who was like lying about stuff a couple of episodes ago with the mustache. You see him like in shady deals with doing like weapons and stuff, and I did kind of laugh because we see like Anderson like watching them at this location and taking photos, and then we have like several other scenes, and then we come back to this place and they're still at the same location and he's still taking photos. I thought that was kind of weird. But so the main thing this episode really focuses on though is Jennifer now knowing what's going on, because Anissa comes in at the start, and she didn't tell her when she found out at the end of the last episode, but she comes in, it's like, and Jennifer's really freaking out. She's like worried about, you know, what's going on. Am I sick? Am I, you know, what's wrong? And she's like, look, I've got powers too, it's fine. Like, well, shut up. And she thinks she's like, you know, pulling her leg until she lifts up the bed. I will say, I did think Jennifer's reaction was a bit over the top. It's just the bed being lifted up. Stop acting like you're going to fall off a skyscraper.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
She was like screaming, like, you're 3 feet off the ground. Like, calm down.
I assume it's just the shock of being lifted on your whole bed.
Sure, it felt like a teenage girl overreaction, and she is a teenage girl, so it jives.
It flies.
It jives with who she is. I'm just saying.
It's a little grating.
Personally, for me, stop screeching. You're fine.
Yeah.
But almost, and this is the thing, so I thought, okay, she's going to let her in that, but she's not going to tell her anything else. And then almost immediately, yeah, you got powers like me and Dad. Wait, what? Dad? Oh yeah, he's Black Lightning. I'm like, oh shit, she just came out with it. Alright, we're going for it.
Kind of a dick move.
What's the thing, like, I feel like that wasn't your secret to tell. And when she comes downstairs and Jennifer's like, and she says you're Black Lightning, and you know, Jefferson's like, oh yeah, well, there's no point in lying, because now I'd have to blatantly deny this, and that is like overall, you know, in terms of the morals of lying. Okay, it's one thing withholding information, it's another thing when someone flat out asks you something and you go, oh no, opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, Jennifer naturally is freaking out and is pissed. And so when Jefferson looks up at this, he's like, really? And she's like, what? She was freaking out. She thought something bad was happening. And I'm like, yeah, but like, you confiding in your secret in her, I think, is enough to try and help her with that. Be a big sister.
I agree.
Yeah.
Be the big sister. Tell her about your powers, and then go and tell your dad, hey, she's got powers too. You might want to give her a talk.
Because for the 30 seconds where I had a chance to think she wasn't going to know about Black Lightning, I was thinking she's maybe not, like, Anissa might not tell Jefferson, and she might like keep this between them, out of like, again, the idea being that in both directions it's not her secret to tell. So in respect for both of them, but she clearly has none of.
Right, exactly.
I'm being facetious. She does respect him, just not in this sense.
Yeah. She clearly shows that if she hadn't told her that Black Lightning was him, She'd have immediately gone and told Jefferson
Yeah.
that she has powers.
Because I was
one
thinking,
or the other was sure.
maybe she wouldn't tell him, and then what would happen is they'd need a third person. It's like, you know, the chips would be down, and that's when she'd fess up and say, "Hey, we could use Jennifer," and like it'd be like, "What?" It's like, "Oh yeah, she has powers, by the way, Dad."
Yeah.
Didn't tell you. But of course, we're not doing that because it's all out in the open.
Yeah, we're not going that route at all.
Do you know what I like about this? I like that it does make her flawed. Like, she's not in the right here that she did that. And she
absolutely.
and it fits into her character. She did it without thinking. She just blurted it out because that's kind of her thing. She reacts without thinking about it. So even though it felt really kind of abrupt in the scene, it actually fits her character really well.
Yeah, definitely.
So I have to kind of give it points for that. And you know, and even afterwards, you still respect that she was well intentioned. You don't think she was being malicious or she was going to.
No, she just didn't think about it properly.
Yeah, she wasn't trying to, you know, do a dick move, but. You know, afterwards she's like, well, you know what? I'll try to, you know, you have to lie to her.
She does defend it a little bit too hard, doesn't she?
She does. Well, you get the sense that she's the sort of person who will, rather than admit that she did something wrong, she will double down on the reasons why she did it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but it feels fitting her character. So she's still very noble intentioned, but she's flawed, and I like that. And you know, and Jennifer, of course, I like that she reacts completely different to her, where she's like, I don't want to be a superpowered person or like have, you know, be a hero or do any of this crap. I just want to, you know, have a normal life. I want to have kids and stuff. In fact, I thought the scene where she asked her mom, "Can I even have kids?" and she's like, "I don't know." I thought that was actually a really interesting little emotional scene because I was like, well, I don't see why you couldn't have kids.
That's the thing. I immediately questioned it. I was like, but so you know that your father has powers. And he's clearly had kids.
I think the way I took it is maybe less than can I physically have children, and more if I have kids, are they going to have powers? Therefore, like, you know, like, can I have kids because if I have kids, they're going to also be in this life and they're going to have.
No, I took it literally. I think she was being literal when she said it.
I mean, she probably was, but I think you can kind of like add that into it. It's not just, you know, because they've both got powers from him. So now I think there's an obvious expectation that when they have kids, that they're also going to have powers. Because even, like, you know, when they're talking about, okay, maybe we screwed up here a little bit, you know, when the parents are talking, like, but maybe they'll learn from our mistakes and they can be better with their, you know, our grandkids. And I'm like, yeah, because they're going to have powers too, so they have to make the choice. Are we going to tell them the secret, or are we going to...
I think the difference is, though, they know going in that, okay, they're probably going to have powers, so we can plan this. Whereas,
two things going in. They know they're going to have powers, most likely, and they also know what it's like to be the ones lied to for the whole lives, so they have the experience of living through that perspective. So that makes that a little bit different.
It's true. And I will say that, which you mentioned there, brings up probably my favourite scene of the episode. It's where, you know, I think it was Jennifer accuses Jefferson of not knowing what it's like to have someone been lied to their entire life. And he's like, yeah, I do. And obviously it ties in really nicely with the Gambi stuff that's just gone on for him. Because he's just learnt this for himself. Yeah. He's just going through the same moment that she is.
Yeah, and obviously by expecting her to forgive him. And admittedly, his lie didn't lead to the death of her father, which would be weird if it did because he's her father. But you know what I mean? It didn't lead to something as drastic as that. But at the same time, if he's expecting her to forgive him, he at least has to understand the concept of letting Gambi be forgiven.
Forgiven.
Yeah. And I caught myself saying it. All right, give me a piece.
All right. Well, I just wanted to make sure because I take joy in you being shit at these things, like speaking.
So no, I like that, and I like that Anissa kind of like pulls him up for that as well. She's like, "Hey, like you've been lying to Jennifer feels this way about you, so like you know," which is probably why he's actually able to just kind of, you know, apologize at the end and like, okay, like regardless of why I did it, and even if I felt I was in the right, like you feel this way, and I don't, like, you know, I did that, so here. In the end, with watching A Princess and the Frog together, which I'm going to assume it was a fake DVD menu because it literally just said DVD menu and then play chapters and whatever.
I assume so. I don't have it on DVD.
But hey, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe the menu for that movie is that simple. But given that is a Disney movie, I'm just going to assume that they didn't have the rights to use the DVD menu and it was just a fake knock-up thing. Which makes me wonder, just pick a Warner Brothers movie.
Like, you've got tons of them.
Yeah. Big library. One of the biggest movie libraries ever is Warner Brothers.
I think it felt particularly weird because they do it all the time in all their other shows.
I know it was strange, but hey, maybe it was trying to like sort of relate. Like, she feels like she's the frog because now she's got powers, so she feels like a freak. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. I should also point out here I've never seen Princess and the Frog.
I can tell.
So if that analogy does not work, just roll with me, all right? Just roll with me.
Just give him a pass when it comes to Disney. He doesn't know it's anything.
Yeah. Basil the Great Mouse Detective I know of very well.
All right, you know one.
The best animated Disney film.
I don't think you can say that when you've only seen a small percentage of them.
I've seen a fair number of them.
Have you seen enough to confidently say that's the best, though?
Yeah, because the rest of them you get a feel for what they all are, because they all kind of feel similar.
I mean, sure.
They're all a bit similar. Lion King's not bad. We bit too much singing, but Lion King's not bad. Gets nice and dark at times. Yeah,
Lion King's all right.
But the rest of them, I can take a leave. But Basil the Great Mouse Detective, that's a quality film.
It is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Vincent Price's Ratican, come on.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. It's up there. It's pretty great.
Probably my favourite version of Sherlock Holmes that I'm thinking about it.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
better than those stupid Guy Ritchie movies. I don't know that much.
I like the first one. Those.
I
Second
was
one,
never that
I
keen
really like
on
the
them.
first one.
I was never that keen on them. But no, I mean, I would have said the Sherlock show, but like the last couple of seasons of that, I've kind of sullied that in my eyes. So
Season 1 and 2 of the Sherlock show. That's peak Sherlock, right?
that's peak Sherlock. But like, I don't know, like if I feel the same way overall now after it's been,
That's fair.
just went
That's fair.
went down the toilet, with season 4 specifically. So. But hey, anyway, so what's getting at? So they track this company. They go to this corrupt lawyer with a mask on, one of which is an Obama mask.
Yeah.
And I really laughed at the end when the guy's like, "By the way, I did vote for you both times."
I did too, and I think it's funnier after I've seen Get Out.
It is because it reminded me of that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was my favorite president in my lifetime. Second to none. Like,
Yeah.
Just it reminded me of Get Out. That was really funny. But I think it's just also funny as well because it's just like he's saying it to him like he actually is Obama. That's what really makes it funny.
It's the way when they introduce as well. He's like, "Oh, hi, Barack," and this is like, no, President Obama. Give him the respect.
You're not on first name basis with the president. Oh dear. So obviously she gets a suit and she's a bit more willing to forgive Gamby. And we see Gamby, of course, is investigating things himself. He's trying to find these weapons that framed Jefferson. He's looking at, and he finds this place, like the company's like got all these people in tanks, and he has this flashback. I mean, admittedly, it was shot and intentionally kind of like through the glass, so there was like halos in front of him, and like it was intentionally a little bit blurred in that sense. But I thought he did a good job of making him look younger. I was like, oh yeah, he does actually look a bit younger here.
Yeah, it wasn't bad actually.
Yeah, but the idea that back when this was all going down, he was actually scouting out people with powers, and now he feels guilty because like they were being taken and they were being experimented on and all these other things. So he's full on redemption story, like is kind of what he's going for. But Anissa gets a suit and they make a big entrance of it, and there's an original song playing for that as well. Which actually reminds me is the opening like title plays at a really weird moment, I thought, because all we get before the opening title in this one is Jefferson just like thinking about things and punching the punching bag, and then it just cuts to the title. I'm used to being a bit more like, here's what the episode's going to be about, or here's the threat, or here's the something.
That reminds me, I want to call out the previously on for being edited with, because the previously on ends with the Gamby conversation with him, and then it immediately jumps into Jefferson's punching stuff, and you hear the Gamby dialogue that he's thinking about.
Yeah, they didn't need to put it in the previously on because they knew how to the episode.
One or the other. Don't give me both.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But yeah, so we see her in her costume, and she goes out with Black Lightning, and then they go and take down this green light factory together. And Henderson shows up as well. Yeah, and those times where they both kind of save each other, where she saves him because these like SWAT guys have got weapons that are actually good against them. They've got weapons that have been designed to take him on, and she, like, you know, they don't expect her, of course, though. She beats up one of them, and the other guy's going to shoot her, and then Black Lightning, you know, grabs him with the lightning and basically makes him float for a while before finally
pretty much, yeah,
throwing him at something. We do get the cheesy cool guys that look at explosions moment.
We do.
As they're walking away. So that was cool. How do you feel about the outfit? Do you like the outfit?
I think it's not bad.
Yeah, it's alright. I like the goggles. I like how they look in her face. It's a nice sort of sleek kind of thing that's going back that way. I like it.
Yeah. I don't think I love the outfit, but I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah, it's fine. I feel like the chest is get this sort of baggy effect to it. It feels like there's like a sort of baggier material over the top of like.
I know what you mean.
Whatever the lower layer is. It looks a little bit baggy to me, which feels a little bit strange, but I'll get used to it. It's fine.
Yeah, you're used to all these outfits being quite tight.
Yeah. You know, tight outfits to show off her ass as the guy in the video, because Jennifer is like she's got on the laptop and like this is trying to talk to her. She's like, "What are you looking at?" And she's like, "Nothing." And just shuts the laptop. She's like, "Let me look." And it's this guy talking about Thunder and how she's got a great ass, and then auto tunes him. And she's like, "I'm saving people's lives, and they're still just talking about my ass. What's going on?" And I love that Jennifer's like, "Hey, do you know you get more fans than Dad?" And like Jennifer's like, "Really?" And the eyebrow goes up, and interest is piqued. Like, "Really?" It's like, "Yeah." There's like a whole fan group talking about how you're acting up against the patriarchy and you're moving, you know, feminism forward. And she's like, "Oh, I like these. These are buzzwords for me. Show me this fan site. I want to see this."
Yeah.
So that really cracked me up because I like that. They're well defined, especially on this. She's so well defined that I started to laugh immediately as soon as she started telling about this fan site, because it was exactly the sort of thing that she was going to be all smug about.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, she can lip read because she learned to lip read in case, like, when they were protesting, if they were going to get arrested or not.
Hey, why not? It's
really specific, but it was a fun moment because he's like, "Oh, we can't hear what they're saying. I wish I knew what they were saying." And she just like says it word for word, or at least as far as we know, because we don't hear it. But
it might be just this is the gist of it.
Yeah, and he's like, "Huh? How'd you do that? How'd you hear that? And you get super hearing?" Like, nah. Which does remind me, I don't think I laughed more in this episode though. Then Lynn comes in to talk to Jennifer when she's still like feeling all shell shocked about the reveal, and she sits down and she's like, "What are you here for? To tell me you're Vixen?" That really cracked me up. It's like, "I'm not Vixen, I'm not Supergirl." And again, I'm like, is this pop culture or is this references to heroes in the world?
I don't know. Because when it was Vixen, I assumed, okay, there's a Vixen out there. But because we've had Supergirl and they've mentioned Supergirl comics already earlier in the show, right? They're not?
They didn't mention that. No, she was reading. Grace Choi was reading something. No, she was reading an Outsiders comic.
Was it Outsiders? Yeah. Right, okay.
But no, Supergirl was referenced, but it wasn't a...
Right, okay.
It could be either, basically.
They're being very vague with it intentionally, aren't they?
Very vague. Because even though I mentioned the picture of Jefferson in the Superman shirt, they can still sell that. Because, I mean, we've seen it in Superman shows before where they still sell this shirt, the merchandise.
Yeah, he becomes an icon and they brand it. It works, it works.
I like it either way, because I like the idea that even if it's not, I like that Jefferson's a Superman fan. That's
definitely. I want to say something I felt was missing from this episode I felt a notable lack of the progression on the Lala plot.
Yeah, they completely said, "No, we're focusing on this stuff this episode." I kind of like. I get why you feel that was missing, but at the same time, I kind of appreciate them choosing to focus on what they wanted to focus on.
I get that. I just felt like, okay, we kind of just set up this mystery last episode, and I'm like, I'll get back to that. I'm really intrigued by that stuff and what it opens up, and I'm like, come on, show me some of that. And it felt weird to just introduce it and then nothing. Yeah,
no Tobias this episode either. They really focused in. It was like it was all the family stuff in Gambi. That was everything we got. And most of it was pretty great, honestly. Like again,
it was a pretty good episode.
The characters playing off each other really well. I'm glad, I think Jennifer's reaction made a lot of sense, but I'm glad that it is kind of, they've dealt with it pretty much.
Yeah, it's over and done with. No need to worry about it in the future.
So no, I like that, and I do think there will be some training with her. Not necessarily to train her to be a superhero, just to contain her powers, because she might start electrifying things left and right.
Yeah, at least just control, definitely.
Yeah, just control, yeah, that's what I mean. And I feel like if she does get involved in any way, it'll be like, oh, they're in trouble, and it's like she just like makes the snap judgment there and then to jump in.
She'll just jump in and help. Yeah, definitely.
I feel like that's what will probably happen. But there you go. That is Bloodline. So solid episode. Solid episode. One or two weird little elements, but mostly
pretty good. Yeah.
Solid family stuff. Which is good because I like that this is a family show. Not in like a it's suitable for the family.
Yeah,
but,
not like the Disney movies.
Yeah, but it's a family show in that because even though the other shows all have families of characters, it's not a parents and kids thing.
No, not too much.
So
there's elements of that in some of the shows, but
yeah, I mean you got Joe and his kids, but they're all adults and they all have jobs, or at least they work for Star
This
Labs.
is actual like okay, no, there's teenagers here still.
And that's interesting. So so what we will do next is Krypton, but we already recorded that, so we will take you to the previously recorded hour-long review of Krypton. Well, there was a jump cut there. It didn't take you quite to the previous record of the Krypton review as planned, because when I went to edit this, I didn't really have a clean cut-in where... Because when we did Black Lightning, I remembered to have like an intro that I could kind of cut up so that it would cut in nicely into the full version of the podcast. That didn't happen this time. So here's another little insert of me just saying, "There's going to be Krypton, Season 1, Episode 1. It's the pilot."
So unprofessional.
What do you want from me? Like,
better than this.
Just so that the official intro to the review is here. And now we will cut to me saying there's not going to be spoilers at the start, but we'll give you a spoiler warning halfway through. But now you're going to hear it twice because I just said it. But that's just to make it ultra clear that we're cutting to the old material. So we're going there now. Yeah, we'll start spoiler free because it is first episode, and we'll give you warning somewhere in the middle before we go into spoilers. But that is the plan. So what is Krypton? Krypton is a show set on, funnily enough, Krypton. It is a prequel to Superman in that it's based around Segel, his grandfather. Before Jor-El, his father's even born. You know, he's in his prime. He's like, early 20-something. You'd be, you wouldn't be blamed for thinking this might be a CW show because Segel's about 22. But that's kind of the thing. There is... I don't know how much I want to give away in the spoiler-free season. I'll just say there's a time travel plot. Just think kind of Back to the Future, we have to fix something before time runs out, and therefore Superman will never exist. And I'll leave it at that for spoiler-free.
Yeah. This has had a hell of a journey from inception to what we've seen.
Yeah, no, it absolutely has, because when they first announced this was David Goyer. Oh, this is a prequel. It ties in directly to Man of Steel. And it was like, oh.
Yeah, and I can still see a couple of elements from that, but this is clearly not that universe.
No, it's clearly not. Honestly, what I'm taking from it, when they watched the first episode, is that it's kind of taking bits and pieces from various Superman mythos. And honestly, I think that's the way to go, because it's kind of like, okay, you can basically pick what version of Superman you think this ties into later.
You can.
Just go for it, whatever one you like. I will admit, the one that ties it most into Man of Steel, though, not that I even hate the concept, but I groaned when it came up, because, oh, that's the Man of Steel thing.
I know what you're on about, yeah.
that was the one I groaned at, just because it was not because the idea itself is necessarily bad, it was just...
I stand by Krypton. This Krypton section of Man of Steel is possibly the best part of that movie. Barring a couple of scenes here or there, but it's the best extended chunk of it.
Sure, I'd maybe fight you slightly and say First Flight is maybe...
Yeah, no, that's the best scene, but as an extended chunk of the film, I think that's the best part. And... this is nothing like that Krypton. Not really.
No, there's bits and pieces of it. In terms of the design of the city, it's kind of like... It's interesting because it has a lot of the design elements of the Krypton in that movie, and there's a lot of rock-based elements, as opposed to be completely ice-based as like the first Superman movie, right?
Yeah. And
what this does is it's got the idea of the bubble cities, which we've heard about in the past in certain versions of Superman mythos and the comics and stuff. And the idea is there is a snow and ice planet, but the cities themselves that are left are in bubbles, and inside those bubbles it's more like sci-fi cities,
Yeah, it's not quite the tropical paradise that Krypton of Man of Steel
No, there's no flying, winged beasts flying around.
That had all these pools of water. It was all this tropical lush green. It's not quite that.
No, this is kind of half. It's especially okay, so it's like a city. It's take your Blade Runner-esque city, but you do half that and half classic kind of Roman. And what I mean by that is all the apartments and stuff are all it's almost like they've been hauled in caves almost. It's all rock. It's all it's got a very old school feel in that sense. But then they've got tablets and holograms and all sorts of
skyscrapers.
and tech. Yeah, skyscrapers, obviously. And very much actually to set up this idea of this. I don't want to compare it to Altered Carbon. That feels a bit cruel to start off that way. But just in the sense that you have the ranked people and the better off people up high, and then all the poor people are down below, still living on the ground. They're not quite above the clouds like Altered Carbon.
Yeah,
but
it's not quite as extreme as that. But
you got that hierarchy basically.
Yeah.
Because they refer to everyone who's down below as rankless or whatever it was. Yeah,
it's a pretty common sort of theme, the idea of any sort of nobility and then the common folk.
So you've got that, and I do kind of want to save a lot of the plot for spoilers. So before we talk about anything else spoiler free, I suppose I'll ask the big question, which obviously actually no, let's continue the journey, because we started the journey. We said so Goya was announced, connected to Man of Steel. And it sat around for a long time. We knew it was happening. It had a different logo and everything, because we got a logo when they first announced it, and the logo we've got now is nothing like that logo. No. And they said, "Oh, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that," and then out of nowhere, like I don't know, 6-8 months ago, whenever it was, we got these plot details, these juicy plot details that added this time travel element into it. And it was kind of like, oh no, it's like Terminator, like someone's trying to like take out Superman by killing his grandfather, and someone's went back in time to stop it, and it's like, whoa, okay, what's all this shit? That sounds kind of interesting. Like, I went from being not remotely interested to being, okay, you've got my curiosity. What is this?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And then, I think the first trailer that leaked, which was before they reshot a lot of the pilot, it had a lot of rough acting in it, so my enthusiasm kind of went down a bit again.
Yeah, I never saw that.
Yeah. However, it did look, production-wise, production quality, it did look quite high, so I had that going for it. And then we get closer, we got a photo of what, it was public knowledge, I guess, so I suppose I should just say who the villain... No, I won't. I'll just say, we got a photo of the villain, who we know from the comic books, and he looked really impressive.
It did, yeah.
Easily the most accurate version of this villain we've ever seen.
By far.
And that basically brings us up to today, because we got that photo a few weeks ago, and then obviously they've been building up to the launch of it, the pilot, and here we are. So it is with great curiosity I asked the question, Connor, did you enjoy Krypton episode 1?
It's not bad. I don't know, like there's some of the character stuff I'm not really feeling yet, but it's the first episode, they get a chance with that stuff to grow. Segel is possibly the least interesting character in the show. He's kind of bland.
He is by far. He's basically what I as soon as they announced a young Han Solo movie, he's basically what I imagined the knockoff Han Solo to be. He's a bit of a rogue. He gets into bar fights, and he's got a bit of charm.
Like, there's nothing wrong with him. He's just kind of... I've seen it before.
Yeah, hopefully, that fleshes out. I will say I also fairly enjoyed it, actually. There's when it comes to like the first tease of the villain towards the end of the episode,
I got excited.
There was nerdgasming happening.
Yeah. I was there. The girlfriend's looking at me going, "Really? What are you doing?" I'm there going, "This is amazing."
I was not prepared for the visuals we got towards the end of the episode.
Oh no, there are some stunning visuals throughout. There's a shot of the city bathed in this red light that's just gorgeous.
Krypton has a red sun, of course. If you're unfamiliar with the lore of Superman, of course, you know who Superman is, but just in case you're, I feel like why he has powers is maybe a little deeper than maybe what your average Joe maybe knows. Which is that Krypton has a red sun. It's our yellow sun that gives him all these powers. So Krypton has the red sun, and that's why they're bathed in red. So the show's set in Kandor City. And they do reference other cities. They say that there's other cities, they may be at war with other cities potentially, depending on how things go. Yeah. They mention those relations with other cities. We don't see any of them yet. I'm sure that'll be something they can delve into. Hell, that's the sort of thing they could say for season 2. They don't even have to do it. It feels
like a season 2 thing to me. It's like focus here and now, and then okay, we can go wider next year.
Because I got really excited when I realised, because at first we're just in the city, and when we saw outside the bubble, I was like, oh, it's actually a snow planet outside. I like that.
Excited me too.
Yeah, I was okay. So we're keeping a bit of everything in terms of the.
Because at first I was like, okay, this is kind of the Man of Steel world, but it's not quite. But it looks more like it. And then I see the ice. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Because that's probably the typical version of Krypton. The ice, because the red sun is a bit cooler.
It's traditional. If anything, this is more believable that it is an ice planet, but they can't actually survive in that. They have to actually.
Yeah, so they've protected some zones.
Yeah. You know, if anything, you could argue there's a backstory here, like, you know, thousands of years ago, this happened slowly where the planet started to become more and more uninhabitable, and they had to build these cities and the bubbles.
And that's why the cities kind of got cut off and from each other, and that's why there's fractured relations. It kind of works for itself.
Yeah, so, no, interesting ideas there. So you got that, you got obviously, there's another family from Krypton whose name, like, I mean, I never really, I mean, it makes sense that there was going to be someone from this family in it, but it never really occurred to me beforehand, and then they just casually dropped the name at one point. I was like, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I did the same.
All right, okay, I noticed that name. Thank you very much. And, you know, and so there's some really interesting elements. I think what I liked, before we get to the plot and the spoilers, I think what I liked about it is that it does feel like a proper sci-fi show. And when I say sci-fi, I don't mean sci-fi the channel, I mean science fiction as in the genre. They're in a bar a couple of times, and it felt like a bar in Mass Effect to me. I don't know if you were getting those vibes.
I can see what you mean.
I was getting that. We have like soldiers walking around in this, like, you know, alien-looking armor. They got like cool visors and stuff. But yeah, and I kind of agree that some of the character stuff is the weakest elements, but that is the kind of thing you can flesh out better once you start get going.
Honestly, that's typically my attitude to these things anyway. Is like, okay, character stuff. You start with your slate, and then you add to it over the time. So as long as there's enough to keep me around till these characters start getting interesting, like whether that be plot, visuals, you know, just general enjoyment out of something.
And to be fair, plot and visuals so far are
pretty good, yeah.
Pretty strong.
Yeah, I have very little complaints in those departments.
To keep you around at least for a while. I mean, the characters could become tedious should they not improve, but, you know, I do actually.
I'll give them a chance on that one.
I like the actress who plays Lita. She was in Black Mirror last season.
Yeah, she was in the dating app one, right?
Yeah. And I remember saying, I remember looking her up at the time, thinking, you know, I was looking up the actor, seeing who was in what, and I was like, oh, she's going to be in Krypton, and then I forgotten about it, and then she popped up in this one. Oh yeah, I forgot she was going to be in this.
Yeah. There was a couple of actors I recognised in this episode.
Yeah, Seg's that dad obviously is in Sherlock.
Yeah, he's Lestrade, and his grandfather is who was Barristan Selmy in Game of Thrones.
I would not caught that one myself. Not a fan of Game of Thrones.
It was a pretty obvious one for most people.
Yeah, for everyone else, yeah. I get you. So yeah, and we got the power struggles. Other things like, you know, when someone's being like in court essentially in Krypton, we have the beam of light from Superman the movie.
Yeah.
Also a nice little touch that made me smile. I was like, oh, okay.
No spinning rings.
No spinning rings. But hey, this is still, I mean, they said it's what, like 200 years?
200 years, yeah. They I mean, they point out later, you know, that, okay, I was like, okay, these guys must live longer than humans.
Yeah, but my first thought was, wait a minute. Like, I thought they lived the same amount of time as we did. This is...
Right. But there's a scene later that mentions one of them living like to 170 odd.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, all right. If that's...
I'm like, oh, okay, fine, I'll allow it.
I guess I kind of like that in a way that it means that Kryptonians weren't exactly the same as humans before coming to Earth. Like there was one or, you know, a difference anyway. They lived longer. I kind of like that. It's just whether that's just through because they existed longer, so they evolved long. You know, because I think technically we're living older as we keep going generation to generation. The average age of death is going up.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah. There's presumably a finite point where it will cut off. We may be approaching that.
But sci-fi, so it's fine.
But yeah.
But no, I like that. And even if you want to argue that, okay, maybe that puts my theory that it's just they've evolved longer, and it's just a case of, no, they're different species, kind of. They can live longer.
Yeah, they're not humans is the point, so it doesn't really matter. As long as they've told me that they live longer, so I'm fine with it. I don't need an explanation for that.
Oh, that's it. I've always liked the idea that Kryptonians are just humans.
Really?
Yeah, like they're just like a slightly, like, kind of like different breeds of dog. You know, the fact that we're so similar and we look the same is, you know, that's why we essentially come from the same. I don't know. Call it God if you want, if that's your bag. But
okay, fair enough. Do different breeds of dogs have different life expectancies?
I don't know.
Not me either.
I wasn't really using that to
no, I was
anyway.
Just
I was just. Yeah, I've just always thought no, they were basically the same species that for some reason got separated at some point, or, you know, life always evolves the same. I don't know, but regardless, the point being is that, you know, what makes them different is coming to Earth and the yellow sun. You know, hell, maybe it's the red sun that makes them live longer. Maybe that's just
it might well be, yeah.
Yeah. So Yeah, and the yellow sun would make them live like us do, except the fact that it supercharges them. Now Superman's like,
Yeah.
you know, indestructible and whatnot. So yeah, so no, so that stuff's so cool. There was a moment actually early on, we get like a flashback to like kind of like the setup of the episode is kind of like how Seg's grandfather. So we're talking Superman's great grandfather.
Yeah.
He was like, and this kind of goes along with what Jor-El ends up being as well, is that he was kind of, you know, a scientist and the Krypton Council were all against it, you know, very topical in a lot of ways, because it's like, no, you know, global warming, that's not a thing, like, no, Krypton's fine, you fool.
Yeah, that's Jor-El's one.
Yeah, that's Jor-El's specific one, whereas, obviously, his great-grandfather, Val, he's more kind of like, he's more about, okay, there is other life out there, we do want to go and explore the rest of space, and, you know, that's been a thing as well in Superman in the past. On Krypton, space travel was outlawed.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's also a bit of classic Superman mythology.
I think that was actually part of the Man of Steel lore as well, if I recall, like that version, because they had that. I think it was. They did that one-shot little comic before it came out that teased Supergirl.
That's
like
right, yeah.
And it was like idea that like thousands of years ago they sent out all these, you know, those ships that you see in Man of Steel, and but then since then they outlawed it. It was like no more.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think that was, but even in the comics, that was a thing.
It was, yeah,
in multiple places. So, so we got that. But he's basically cast out, and this is not a dig at the show, but it did remind me a lot of the 1995 Judge Dredd. Now, stick with me.
Okay, can't say I've seen it, so you're gonna have to explain.
So in that, when they like sentence someone to death, because obviously, you know, Judge Dredd, it's like mega cities and then everything else is a wasteland. They'd like forced them out the edge of the city into the wasteland, and that scene reminded me a lot. I had like a sort of walkway that went out, and it reminded me of that. Admittedly, you just walk out of the wasteland and then you have to just survive out there, which, you know, the expectancy once you get out there's not very long. Whereas here it was more just, you know, fall to your death.
You're dead. Yeah.
But hey, so that reminded me of that. But hey, I actually liked that in theory. The kid version of Seg who was acting in that scene was but
rough. I agree. I'm hoping that'll be the only time we see him.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I could see them doing flashbacks where he's like learning things from his grandfather.
I can see it, and that concerns me a little potentially, because I think the acting that's probably the only really acting that I thought was quite rough in the whole episode.
Also, actually, I'll save that for spoilers. I was about to compare something to something else. That's full on spoiler territory.
I have no idea what you were going to say.
So I think with that we'll go into spoilers. But needless to say, we're both actually relatively optimistic, I think, which is not how we were.
Shockingly more positive than I ever expected.
Yeah, I was not expecting this positivity before I watched it.
I remember when this was announced, and this was a while ago, and we were like, we're going to do the first episode just so we can tear it to shreds. We got to. We're going to have fun with that. And now here we are.
Well, Joe, I think it partly is. I think development changed at some point. I think realising when Johns came into like power of the TV and the movies is sort of overseeing all that, and they realised, oh, that direction that Zack Snyder set up, we are like diverting from that. Once that decision was made, I think the development of the show altered as well, because
it basically started from scratch, didn't it?
We don't want to tie it into that because we're kind of getting away from that. So. And you can kind of feel the John's influence. I think the villain choice, I think, you know, what that's teasing, I think that feels very Johnsy to me.
I agree. It was a villain that he was particularly fond of.
So with that said, full spoilers now for episode 1 of Krypton. So the comparison I was going to make is that Seg-Hel's basically Batman now because he watched both his parents die. They both get shot in front of him.
I mean, you're not entirely wrong.
Does he become Nightwing? Because we know that Nightwing was a hero on Krypton. He was a vigilante on Krypton. Do you think Seg-Hel's going to become Nightwing and it's going to be this really weird full circle thing?
Oh, and the bartender's Flamebird. Yeah. I was getting there.
I'm actually going to make this nitpick once and never again. It's something that you could technically argue about every episode of this show forever. I'm just going to make it once here on the pilot, and that's it. And we've got it done. It's a complaint you can have with a lot of sci-fi stuff. And at first I was fine with it because I thought, oh well, much like a comic book, so everyone's speaking English, right? In fact, everyone's got an English accent for whatever reason. And that's Superman the movie. Everyone had a British accent in that for some reason, but. So everyone's speaking English, right? And at first, why are they all speaking English? But it's fine, because it's just Krypton. I can just kind of say, well, no, they're not really speaking English, but like a comic book would have it in English, but it would say, it's actually translated from whatever, right? However, once Adam Strange from the future shows up and starts speaking to him in English, he's like, oh, I'm from Earth, I'm from Detroit. And I'm like, okay, now they'll just speak in English. Okay.
Yeah.
Unless Adam Strange learned Kryptonian and it's still translated, but I doubt it.
It's possible. I think the only thing that really threw me in this is it's a nice effect, is, when it comes up with the title cards, like 14 years later, it starts in Kryptonian and then shuffles into English. I like that, but it's like, Kryptonian is a language. Yeah,
absolutely. All the text should always be Kryptonian, because they can't have English, because then they actually know what an S looks like, and if they have an S, then it's
weird. Yeah,
it ruins that they have the shield, which doesn't mean an S, but the whole thing.
But yeah, so far so good.
Yeah. So Adam Strange comes from the present, right? Now, I was a little bit annoyed when he said you have to save Superman. He didn't say Superman and Supergirl, but I'm just going to take it that it's from before she appeared, because there was a period in time when Superman was around before Supergirl appeared and arrived on Earth. So I'm going to assume it's in that time, just so I don't feel like dissing Kara, because he's got 2 super grandkids, right?
I mean, sure. I think the point is you save one, you save both. Plus, Superman has the legacy more so. So
I know the reason why it's just pure popularity, but it bugs me. She should also be mentioned. So it takes place in that window. That's all I'm saying.
Fine.
Right. Otherwise, Adam Strange is a dick.
Maybe he is a dick.
Maybe he just is a dick. That's possible. Yeah, so it's funny because obviously I knew this was part of the plot, right? At least so far, and like when we see like some guy in like a baseball hat and a hoodie, like walking around Krypton, I'm like, okay, he's from the future.
Yeah, that was something I'd seen in the trailer. Yeah. Well, what I watched was the one that teased Brainiac. It had a few little bits here or there, and it had him in the baseball cap and the hoodie, and I was like, okay, that's gonna stick out. Someone's got to mention that, right? Which, thankfully, they do.
Yeah. So he gives him, and again, it's not Man of Steel. It's more classic Superman, because he gives him essentially the Kryptonian USB stick, which is a crystal.
Yes.
Right. So he gives him that, and he's like, "What's this? Oh, this is bizarre." Segal's all confused, and so you have to find the fortress, and I'm like, "Oh, fortress! Oh. Here's something that wasn't in Man of Steel, was fortresses." So it turns out his grandfather had a secret like science research fortress, which we did call the Fortress of Solitude. And what I like about this is I like the idea that this was tech that led to the tech that Jor-El designed to like build the fortress with a crystal, and that's why Superman has a Fortress of Solitude specifically.
I like that, because obviously the Fortress of Solitude has always come from Jor-El, and he's like, this is your Fortress of Solitude. Yeah. Like, Clark never names it that. It was given to him as that name. So I like this still here where it's like, well, he called it that because that's what this one was called. Yeah. Like, this is your one.
But it is worth mentioning, this one isn't made out of crystals. This is like stone that's covered in snow.
It is. And again, it's still out in the ice, though.
Yeah, which again, I like, because it's the idea that, no, the technology to just make like a structure like that is something that's either developed by Seg or maybe Jor, somewhere along the family line. Like, that's their tech somewhere, because they're clearly the ones exploring and trying to like figure things out. So no, I like that stuff. I'll tell you what I was not expecting, and also brought a giant grin to my face, was the Superman theme.
That hit me. It just out of nowhere.
Yeah, because
when they first get to the fortress.
Yeah, they're flying in the ship. They go out the bubble, and they're like in the dark, and it's snowing, and then the light from the ship just like lands on the logo, and you just hear the dun dun and dun. And I'm like, oh man.
Oh my god, I can't believe they've done that.
They know how to get me.
It's kind of cheap, because it's like it just hits me, and I'm like, yes, you've got me now. I'm on your side.
Here's the thing. But I'm going to make an argument here that it's not cheap with Superman as a whole.
Okay.
Because Superman's theme has got to the point now where it's transcended just the movies it was made for, and I am of the opinion that every single Superman on-screen adaptation of any kind is free to use the theme, and in fact should use the theme in some capacity. Because no one's topping it. And I love Hans Zimmer's score.
I agree.
Right? But nothing would please me more than Hans Zimmer's score if it got into some of those notes. You know, dun dun, dun dun.
Here's where I disagree on that. I don't want that version sullied. I don't want it to sully that theme.
Hey,
I want good versions of Superman to use it.
Hey, a rough version that popped up in Justice League, and I don't think it sullied it at all. I think that theme is strong enough that it just means Superman. It means the idea
I
of
hate
Superman.
Justice League, so.
Yeah, but it didn't sully the theme, though. You didn't come out of that feeling like, it's ruined the theme for me. It didn't, did it?
A little bit. There's a little bit now
No,
that I
no,
go, that's in that movie.
No, not sharp. We're at a point now where that is just the Superman theme, and it should... I think, honestly, I really feel like Universal should just say, you know what, if there's dinosaurs on the screen, you can use the Jurassic Park theme, we won't sue you, because it just means dinosaurs now, right? You have a license to use it as long as there's dinosaurs involved.
Oh, I mean, that's a bold statement.
That is bold. But what I was saying is, I think that theme is so iconic, and I don't think it should be used all the time in this show by any means, because it's not about Superman, but the idea of, like, you know, at key moments like this when the symbol means something, when we're getting to something that is relevant to Superman, at the end when the camera comes up and you see he's standing on the giant shield, like, yeah, by all means.
In here, it's less a Superman theme, more a House of L theme.
Yeah, especially since it's not like they're using the whole thing. They're just using the intro phrase of it. They're not going into the yeah, they're not doing the big actiony bit. It's just that key phrase that always starts off the theme. The question and answer. And then the down bit again after that.
Yeah.
That's all they're using, and I think that's fine. I think that means Superman or House of L, if you want to call it that. The shield and the hope that the shield represents. That is that music.
Yep.
Go for it.
I'm with it.
So, by all means. Before people, I know people are going to say in the comments, Smallville did that too. And Smallville did. And when Smallville used the theme, it got about 10 times better just by having that theme playing, right? So...
No, it's true. Can't argue with that.
You know what? I will shit on a lot of Smallville. The last 30 seconds are perfect. That is how you end that show. It just came like 5 seasons too late.
Yeah, like, as much as you just said, like, that every version of Superman should have that theme, and that one is right. Well, he's Superman now; he gets the theme, essentially.
Exactly. So yeah. So, and here's something I was not expecting as well. Even though it's on the poster, but I didn't really look at the poster too closely. Is he's got Superman's cape, because Adam Strange brings Superman's cape, and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. But what's the purpose of having it here other than, hey, here's Superman's cape? But there's a plot device here, and I like it a lot. They're doing the Back to the Future thing. You know, Back to the Future, where like he's fading from the photograph because time's changing. They're doing that. The cape is disintegrating at the bottom. It's like he calls it an hourglass, basically. This is how much time we've got to save the future, and save your grandson. And Joe, what I like about this, right? 'Cause obviously, this is the big end, and it's the call to action. And it's like, okay, you need to step up and do this. And obviously, Seg's are pretty pissed because his parents have both died, and because they've helped him solve what this crystal was and where the fortress was, and he's kind of blaming Adam a little bit for leading to their death. But here's the real sort of bittersweet thing I like about this, is that we're going to watch him all season try and save the planet, possibly the entire show, depending on how it splits it up, if it's a new plot for season 2 or whatever. But even if he succeeds, Krypton's still doomed. Like everyone else on the planet, everyone he knows, their grandkids are all going to die.
Absolutely. I do wonder, does he learn this at some point? Does Adam Strange tell him? And that's why he's like, no, we need to develop spaceflight. Is that how? Maybe he learns this quite late in life, and he tells Jor-El, and
maybe. I mean, I wonder if it goes down that route. I think there's potential great drama from like Adam not wanting to tell him. Because if he alters things... I mean, if Krypton does survive, we don't get Superman. Superman doesn't exist and he doesn't save the universe over and over.
Right, so we can't save all of Krypton from its eventual fate, but maybe telling him is what inspires the spaceflight enough to get Clark
enough to make that rocket, to get him to Earth, No, I could see that being something, maybe really down the line, but... It's the sort of thing where I could see them doing it later this season, where he finds out that Krypton actually dies. I could see it being like end of season 4. Like it could be any time, really. But I like that bittersweet thing, is that he's fighting so hard to save it, but it's like it's doomed. You're just
as much as he's trying to save it from Brainiac now, it's like, well, that's all well and good, but it's only a matter of time still.
All right, so let's talk about Brainiac.
Let's do it.
So he brings it up. He's like, is there something coming? And even though I knew Brainiac was the villain, I wasn't necessarily sure if that was exactly what they were talking about. Because all they vaguely said was something, some force is coming. And then it cuts to that shot of the ship.
That ship looks fantastic.
I just about creamed my pants. And
They call him the Collector of Worlds.
And it cuts inside, and you see all the orbs, and it's all the sort of I don't. The sort of, you think of tentacles, but it's actually like pipes. It's like tentacle pipes that are holding the little orbs with the worlds inside them. You see a city in one of them. But one that you can recognise. The rest are all kind of like, they're presumably also cities. They're just so alien to us that we don't recognise. Whereas one's actually skyscrapers and shit, so we can kind of, okay, we understand that one. And it's like you see it go up the sort of the base of all the pipes, you know, that form Brainiac, and you see the pipes reveal his face and then his eyes open, and I'm like, holy shit, this is Brainiac from the comics. This just looks
amazing.
This is Brainiac. This is exactly what I want Brainiac to look like.
I don't think this will ever be topped. Maybe all right, characterization may go wrong. I mean, so far so good.
Yeah,
but in terms of visually, I don't think you can top this. You can match this, but I don't think there's any way to improve on this as a representation of what we've got from the comics.
Oh, really visually, absolutely. Go read Superman Brainiac by Jeff Johns. This is the Brainiac that's in that.
It's identical, you know.
But because it's live action, it just has a slightly more horrific feel to it. It almost, you know how like in Alien, like all the dark corridors and like the dark alien spaceships, all kind of grimy and dark. This just has this dark eeriness to it because you've got all these black pipes and it's.
And I think. Maybe this is my memory playing tricks on me, but the shade of green here does seem slightly darker than what I think of as Brainiac from the comics.
I think that may just be a conscious choice because sometimes bright colours don't work as well in live action.
Right, exactly.
You have to tone them down a bit.
I think you do. So I think that's why that's slightly more sinister as well, the dark green. It's like a bit more, a little bit more evil looking than a brighter green. I don't know. And
it really bothers me as a force. He's a force of nature, seemingly, the way it feels in this.
Yeah.
Which does actually beg the question. I have a lot of questions actually after this. As much as I enjoyed a lot of what it's set up, I have a lot of questions. I'm not entirely sure what a lot of the show is going to actually be episode to episode. Primarily because I'm not sure how Segel actually fights Brainiac.
Right. All he can do is turn him away. You can't beat him properly for good.
Well, not even. I mean, obviously that's something you have to say because okay, he has to exist for Superman to fight him later on. Like, even if they say, "Oh no, we're not going to let him exist for Superman later on," whatever. Like, I'm not going to like. Sure, obviously, I want him to exist later on for Superman. In fact, if they wanted this version of Brainiac to show up like next season on Supergirl or something, I wouldn't complain. But no, I'm more saying like, how does he actually battle him? Like, what does he use? Because he's not a superhero. No one will believe him. Like, he's on his own. He doesn't have an army. He doesn't have like the resources really, other than maybe the fortress and what's in there. But I'm wondering, like, what over the season does he amass to actually have the ability to combat him in some way? What is the tactic? What is the plan?
No, that's true. I mean, we've got Adam Strange, who can obviously get suited up.
Yeah. Obviously, right now we've got him in a baseball cap and a hoodie. So we'll see if he's got his outfit.
But we know there's another character due to appear that would help out. Yeah,
but I think we'll talk about that because I am curious. Okay, so we know when they announced Adam Strange, they also announced another character. So, I mean, I guess mild spoilers for future episodes if you don't want to know this. But I mean, we've not seen any episodes from the future. We just know this information because they announced
this is what they publicly announced. So it's kind of like.
But they mentioned Hawkwoman was going to be involved in some way. I kind of assumed she would be with Adam Strange beforehand in time travel shenanigans.
I did too,
but. Now that she's not there with him now, I'm like, okay, so is she there of the time? Like,
yeah, I'm assuming a Thanagarian version.
Yeah, that could be true.
That would make more sense to me.
Could that be like the first contact Krypton has with another world, maybe?
Yeah, could be.
Maybe. But how does that come into play? Obviously, we don't know. We'll see that later on.
I'm genuinely intrigued as to what this is going to be week to week.
Yeah, I am too. And I think the biggest compliment I'll give it is it really feels like a proper DC lore show. It feels like, as much as I worry about these prequels, I think this one is inherently going to be less guilty of it than, say, that Metropolis one they're going to have on the network, and obviously Smallville, is where they constantly foreshadow things far too much. I think here, because I remember when I first saw the trailer, and you hear, because it's at the start of the episode, you hear Segel saying, "Oh, to Kal-El, my future grandson." I'm like, how does he know he's got a future grandson? But of course, the time travel plot explains that.
It does. I still think that opening, voiceover was cheesy as hell, and is one of my most disliked things about the episode.
That's a fair complaint. I can't dispute that. But
No, it's 20 seconds. I can live.
But my gripe of like why is he narrating to his grandson when he doesn't know he's got a son yet? Never mind. But no, okay, time travel explains that. Fine. He knows of the importance of the legacy. And it makes me wonder, like, I mean, I don't know if we'd ever even get to this point in the show, even if it runs 10 years, but would he ever tell his son about what he knows about the future? Or is it more important, or does it make Jor-El's character mean more if he never actually knew and he just did it anyway because he was that good a person?
Yeah, I don't know. I like both ways. I don't want him to tell Jor-El directly. I think record a message sort of thing was probably the better route to go.
I don't want him to tell him that his son's going to be like a superhero or Superman on this world. I don't want that. So telling them, oh, the planet's doomed, you need to like get away to like get off of it. Sure, but
maybe the idea of here's somewhere you can send him, like here's somewhere.
Maybe an idea, like that. But I don't like the idea of Jor-El knowing that he's going to be Superman.
No, I agree with that.
I think the uncertainty and just hoping that his son will be better, he'll be a better leader and idol for this world, because the whole thing with Krypton is that they didn't listen to each other, the planet got destroyed because no one was willing to listen to reason, and it was kind of their own fault that they all died. That's kind of thing, and it's all Kal-El, go to this other planet and maybe give them a chance of being better, because you can like maybe show them the what we learned from dying.
Right. I'm just thinking like possibly the thing Man of Steel got most right is Jor-El and his speech.
Better than the other father.
Yeah, but I'm thinking even the start of that movie when when he's sending Clark away, it's like, no, we've found this planet. This looks suitable.
Yeah.
I wonder if could this version. Could he have found that stuff in the archives of this fortress? Been like, maybe. Here's somewhere.
Maybe. Yeah, so I'll give... this is a small nitpick. It just felt kind of weird to me, is that the reason why the parents get like arrested, or the mum gets arrested and then she's on trial and then the dad jumps in and they both get shot, the reason why that all happens is because she steals one of the cruisers from the police force. And they immediately like arrest them, and they both die because of it. In the very next scene, like, Seg just says to his buddy, what's his name here, Kem, his bar buddy, he's like, hey, I needed a favour. And it cuts to him in, like, a ship leaving the bubble, and I'm like okay, I get that they didn't steal this one, but if it's this easy to get a ship and leave the bubble without there being repercussions, it feels kind of weird that the mother did the super risky thing of stealing a police cruiser, knowing it would lead to probable certain death.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So that just felt like a weird cut to me. But hey, I mean, it's not a big quibble, but it's...
No, I'm with you.
But hey, so yeah, so we see a combat scene. It's like a training scene. There's like an audience, and there's this woman who turns out to be Jaina, and she like beats this person. She's like, okay, right, you're next, Lita Zod, and I'm like, Zod, Zod.
Yeah, like, ooh, hello.
This is interesting, and we've got a bit of a Romeo and Juliet thing going here with Seg and Lita.
Yeah.
They're both kind of like in arranged marriages for other people, but they're kind of into each other.
Yeah, it's not quite rival houses. Yeah, but more. Well, you're not part of any house right now, so tough shit.
Yeah. Although he's kind of becoming part of the villainous house.
Supposedly, yeah.
Yeah, because the guy, Darren Vex, who actually sentenced his grandfather to death, because Seg kind of shows up and like stops a suicide bomber from going off. Because that's the other thing. As much as I think some of the character stuff's a little bit dull, some of the other mythology to set up for the Krypton itself, with the voice of Rao. And,
yeah, I'm down for all this stuff.
Yeah, and was it just me who was thinking, okay, that this character who's wearing this mask, I'm willing to bet that's someone we know. And when I say no, not from the show, I just mean from the comics. Like, I'm willing to bet there's a face behind, not a face, but a name. Whoever this really is, this is someone from comics.
But even so, I like the idea, because obviously this ties into the religion versus science part of Krypton, which is, a big part of its mythology as well. And this is kind of bringing it to the forefront immediately. Yeah,
it's fascist Pope, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So no, I think that's interesting. The idea that we've got these people who are against it. What was it the Zero team?
Black Zero.
Black Zero. There you go. That was it. So they're kind of the resistance to Rao, but they're kind of. But I also kind of like that it's not like a full-on thing where everyone in the city's like picked a side. Like for most of the city, it's still just day-to-day lives, but there are extremists who are against it, and there's so it feels a bit more grounded in that sense, I guess.
It's a bit more believable, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a small band of terrorist organization essentially,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not everyone.
So also, Jane is actually Lita's mother, so we get two Zods. We get the mother, daughter, and Zod, and it does make me question, like, is Lita an only child? Is she going to have Zod? Like, the Zod, because Zod is of Jor-El's generation, so it would be their,
Yes.
next in line, if you will, whether it's her kid or her brother or sister's kid that becomes the Zod that we know of as, arch nemesis
Yeah,
Zod.
no. Yeah.
But
I think my biggest fear right now is that it's actually, Seg is the father.
of Zod.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also wonder if it's more that Lita's the mother of Jor-El.
Okay.
Because either way, you kind of give them this familial link.
You do.
There's no way kind of around that. And it doesn't seem like... I mean, it's only one episode, so who knows what they're going to introduce, but it doesn't seem like Lita, the plot for her is going to be, she slowly turns evil and becomes a Zod. It doesn't feel that way after this episode.
I don't think they need to do that because, I mean, I think it's worth remembering, even on Krypton, generally speaking, Zod's not considered evil till quite late.
Oh, yeah.
He's a general in the army. He's very well respected.
And for a good time as well, Jor-El and Zod aren't enemies.
They're like best friends, basically.
Yeah, Zod's a warrior. He leads the armies and stuff, and obviously Jor-El's a scientist, and it's obviously not until later on where it becomes between them.
Right. So there's no reason to make her evil just because she has the Zod name. That would feel a bit kind of just for the sake of it.
Her mother's a bit of a cow, but I don't know.
Yeah, but that's believable. That doesn't make it
I'm not saying it's not believable. I'm just saying her mother's a bit of a cow.
Yeah, she is. She stabs a...
More befitting of the name Zod, I suppose. Is what I'm saying.
Much more militaristic.
There you go. You got it out there.
I did.
I love when you mess up words because I do it so often that I take some glee in it when it's you. So we do have the Genesis Chamber. Which was the Man of Steel thing that did make me groan a little bit because it's Man of Steel. That said, the idea itself I didn't hate in Man of Steel. That wasn't a problem I had with that movie, so I can't necessarily begrudge it too much.
And I sort of like the way that it's used here because, in a sense, Seg is against this whole, but it's predetermined destiny, right? It's like, oh well, because they do it, and it's like our son will be 171, he'll be a lawyer, that's it, it's all planned out. But then there's the dichotomy of that with Adam Strange going, hey, your grandson's going to be a superhero. You've got to do this. So there's that, he kind of hates the destiny aspect of that, and that it's all mapped out, but then he kind of has to go through with it on this other way as well.
Yeah, I think what works with that is that coming from the future and saying, hey, like, this is going to be important, that happened because of chance. Like, that happened originally because of chance, which is kind of the nice difference between them. Whereas the whole, like, they put their, like, because we should also explain that Seg and what's his name? Well, there's Darren Vex's daughter.
Yes. Nyssa,
yeah. He basically offered her up. He's like, okay, I'm going to arrange you two to be married now, and you're going to take my family name because you saved me from a bombing, so I'll give you a chance to be ranked again, but you're going to be ranked under my name. And so for a while he's going to be Seg Vex, I guess, until he reclaims the L name.
Yeah, that's something that we know is going to happen at some point. I can see that being an end of season thing, a reward for saving them from Brainiac.
Maybe.
But maybe they never acknowledge that. Maybe like, yeah, we don't believe in the Brainiac threat.
Yeah. But hey, so yeah, he's arranged for them to be married, and she's all like, well, I'm the fifth daughter. I'm lucky to be arranged from anyone. And obviously he's a bit of a rebel, so so when he questions us, you just do what he tells you to. Like he says you're marrying him, and you're okay with that. And she's like, hey, I'm lucky to be offered to anyone, and you don't seem so bad. But yeah, they prick their fingers on the little scanner thing, and it's like, hey, your son's going to be this, and he's going to live for this long, and he's going to be a lawyer, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was okay, so interesting ideas. And I'm like, well, does this son actually get born? Because I wasn't sure if like them doing this already made the baby. Like, if it was already in
I think it makes the potential, like, it's there now. Like, they could have it when they want.
Because if it is, like, does this become Jor-El? Like, does he, like, say, no, that's not what we're going to name him? Not what the computer told us to. I'm naming him Jor after something. Whoever's Jor.
I'm with you.
I don't know. Do they name people after things or other people in Krypton? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Who's to say? I've never actually encountered two Kryptonians with the same name, so maybe not.
Maybe not. But then that said, naming people after names is often a generational thing anyway, right?
Yeah, but now we
Like,
have like 5 people in the L line, and none of them have like.
no,
We
that's
got
true.
Cal, we got Jar, we got Seg, his father, who I can't remember.
Uh,
There you go, Terrell, and then the other one above him was Val L. So we got 5 generations of L men.
yeah.
No one's a junior.
Interestingly, I believe Val was the name of the Earth 2 Superman.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Val.
So were they saying that was his grandfather came early, so he was the one who came as Superman, or are they saying that he was just named after his grandfather in that, or great grandfather in that?
I have no idea, but
I'm
I
just
just
curious.
just worth noting.
So no, yeah. So his parents dead, so he's justice, and all the rest of it.
Yep.
So I'm just waiting for the keyword to get into the fortress to be Martha or something, just to nail that.
Oh, don't.
Oh, that's he's going to meet. He's going to meet his wife Martha, and she's going to be called Martha L.
I hope not.
These are all terrible ideas. I hope they'll not pay attention to this guy. I don't want to give them these horrible ideas.
No, don't do this, please.
Don't do it. Yeah. So yeah, there was times when Seg was a bit wooden, bit generic of a character, but you can also see they're trying to make him a bit sort of likable and quirky because he's doing the whole fighting thing at the start where this the bet he's lasting as long as possible to win more money, and so they're doing the whole rogue type thing and.
Yeah, I think there's no problem with the guy's acting. I think I should point that out. I don't think he's ever bad. It's just it's a very standard character as of right now.
So far, yeah.
But time for that to change for sure.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we get maybe a few of them even more deep. I think it's interesting that Nissa and Jaina are also on like they've got their own posters, and there's not enough of them in this episode to make me think they're as equal to Seg and Lita, but clearly we're going to get more of them. They're going to be more developed as well as we go on through the episodes, seemingly, as well as Darren Vex, obviously, because he's the big bad essentially. Well, not Brainiac big bad, but he's the political big bad.
Yeah, so we got a political big bad, a religious big bad, and
voice of Raoul.
Space big bad.
I'm trying to think, voice of Raoul. Who's someone who could conceivably be like alive this long ago? Like an alien presence of some kind.
I mean, I think is it possible though time travel? Because we know
that's true.
The whole point is someone has come back in time to kill Seg.
That is actually a very good point because, but this is the thing though. It's not like they came back in time and just tried to assassinate him. Someone's came back in time and somehow redirected Brainiac.
Well, did it? Well, this is what I'm thinking though. Is Brainiac could be a coincidence if whoever came back in time is the voice of Rao. Maybe they tried to okay, so they destroyed the House of L, right? Maybe they thought, oh, that'll be enough, and then okay, that's not done it, so they keep going. Maybe they're going to try and assassinate him more directly.
Maybe. Well, the reason why I say it has to be specifically related to Brainiac is because the whole like the capes like disintegrating. It's like no, the threat of Brainiac's coming. That's the countdown.
Okay, no, you're right.
That's the changing factor. So Brainiac originally never came here at this time.
Yeah, okay.
The way I see your way working, if it is, like, say, the voice of Raoul, it took to strip the House of L, and that's maybe in the original timeline, Brainiac was never as much of a threat because the House of L had, like, it thrived. Val continued his science, his son continued the science, and then Seg continued the science, and they were ready for him, so it was never a big deal. The first time.
Yeah, like maybe Val did something. In the 14 years that he would have been alive, assuming this was there was the voice of Raoul that's come back in time. That's what's changed. In that 14 years, he did something that meant Brainiac wasn't going to be a problem.
Because I'm not against the idea of the voice of Raoul being a time traveler, because like the idea that whoever it is manipulating their belief in Raoul and maybe knows things, maybe they're appearing to be godly and
because they know events from the future.
Yeah, they know events from the future. They could tell them things that they wouldn't otherwise know.
It seems prophetic.
Yeah, pathetic. Not to be confused with pathetic, which although arguably they often mix. But so I like that idea, but. The tipping point does seem to be that's the countdown. That's the thing that's
I agree.
going to kill him so that Kal-El's never born, or more specifically Jor-El's never born, so therefore Kal-El will never be born.
Yeah.
So I feel like if it is so, if whoever's went back in time has affected Brainiac in some way, I'm curious to see how. Like, did they? I don't know. It's like tell him about. Oh, hey, there's this nice planet over here you can go get.
No, I know what you mean though. Like, what was it that changed him to come here?
What was it? Something as simple as like they destroyed another planet he was going to go to, so he redirected. Or I don't know.
Could be
some interesting ideas. But I'm curious to find out, and I'm curious to see how more of this time travel stuff plays in.
I still can't believe that I'm legitimately excited to see where this goes.
No, the plot is legitimately interesting.
I never thought I would be saying that
Because when they first announced it, they didn't tell us about this time travel. They didn't tell us, oh, it's going to be like Terminator, where someone's going to try to take out Superman by assassinating his grandfather.
I don't think that was part of the original idea, frankly.
Maybe
I think
it wasn't.
That came with the redirection.
When they first announced it, it was like, oh, it's going to be like there's political things going on, and Seg-El has to save the House of El from banishment. And I'm like, okay, but this is, I mean, that's not to say that could be bad. Like that could be really well done.
That stuff's still there.
That could still be a good show theoretically, but it felt so light in what the premise was, whereas here it's like, oh no, you're exciting me with, we've got a really good interpretation of Brainiac, at least so far, and we have interesting reasons to actually reference Superman things. We don't have, because that's the thing, because we have time travel, because we have a character who knows who Superman is, because he's got the cape, and he's actually just saying we need to save Superman, we don't have to do the bullshit, like, foreshadowing, teasing crap.
No, because we can just get it out of the way with the actual plot.
You can just talk about it because that's what's relevant. And that's to say that I never want any foreshadow. Like if they foreshadow thematic things, if they say like, oh, Segak's helpless or or selfless in one scene and it's like, or maybe he's not, maybe he's a bit of a dick, and maybe Adam Strange to say, hey, your son taught me better than this, or your grandson taught me better than this, and he I'd
honestly say even things like the way the council react to Val is thematic foreshadowing of what's going to happen with Jor-El later.
But thematic foreshadowing is far more interesting than like wink wink, here's a phrase that's used later.
Yeah, I don't like that very much.
No. So no, that stuff's pretty good. But I do like that idea. I like the idea of like maybe at some point he is acting like a dick and Adam has to like kind of teach him the lessons of Superman to make him like a better person.
And then he'll have to teach his son, and so on. I can see it.
And you get a bit of a, again, Terminator kind of like self-fulfilling thing where if you never go back in time, you never have this.
Never happens in the first place. Yeah. No, I can see that. It
becomes a bit of a loop.
I will say, I do kind of hope that the Brainiac and the time travel of we've got to save Superman is just season 1.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think it is.
I think it is, and I hope it is, because otherwise it will kind of dragged out. This cape's only going to last so long, right? But if that's season 1, and then in season 2 we can
other cities,
other cities, the political stuff. Like, but by that point we're into the world, we're into the characters. That I'm probably going to be into that stuff.
I think season 2 the obvious thing to do is a war with another city.
Yeah,
I think you have Argo City as the second city, and you have a war between them or something like that.
I can see it.
I think there's potential there. Because you think, because maybe at the end of season 1 we deal with Darren and that stuff, and we've kind of like got back the structure politically, but then it's like, okay, now there's like the head of Argo City's maybe a problem or something, like maybe there's stuff to do here. Because I think what's impressed me the most about this is that instead of feeling like a cheap prequel, kind of like Smallville did a lot of time, kind of like how I'm expecting this Metropolis show to be on the network, this is giving me way more. This is just a sci-fi show. It happens to be set on Krypton, but it's a sci-fi show with lots of sci-fi things.
It is like things. Season 2, I'm expecting it'll be right. So the other cities, maybe they don't have this, the voice of Rao, so they're like okay, this is a bit weird. So maybe like Black Zero kind of sides with the other cities, and they kind of maybe they're funded through the other cities, and it becomes this guerrilla warfare almost.
Yeah, possibly. I do think though there'll be an element, kind of like how we have Strange and possibly Hawkwoman later on, and future Superman stuff. I do think there'll be an element of something else that we know in season 2. Not from the future necessarily, but like something else that we can have that is something we recognise from Superman mythos, or at least DC Comics mythos.
I think it's likely. I think it's less essential in season 2. I feel like season 1 they're doing that to make sure we get people interested.
I don't think it'll be as big and as bluntly obvious as it is this season, but I think there'll be something.
It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Honestly, if they have like Tomar Ray kicking around.
Oh shit! I didn't even think of that.
Because if you don't know DC lore, Tomar Ray is the Green Lantern of the sector that Krypton's in, and he has immense guilt over not being able to save Krypton. So if they wanted to do a little Green Lantern cameo of Tomar Ray,
Yeah.
I'd be down with that.
Oh shit, yeah. There's so much they could do with Krypton, like in terms of, like, because we can bring in Thanagar.
Yeah, forgetting the Hawks, Thanagar makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm kind of seeing potential to bring in interplanetary conflict as well as just, you know, the intercity conflicts down the line.
Yeah, and to be fair, Adam Strange actually, and you know, has encountered Thanagar and stuff in the past as well. That's been a big thing with him. The Ran Thanagar War, and you know all that stuff. Yeah, so
it's kind of established that if that happens, there's precedent for it already.
At the very least, if we don't get characters, could we see other species? Do we see, you know, pick like, you know, Sinestro's race? Do we see? I don't know, Kilowog's granddaddy. I'm picking Green Lantern alien. Well, that has a lot of aliens in it, which is why I'm picking those. But
yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
You know, all these various ideas. Actually, no, we said it earlier. Here's what you're interested in season 2 if it's not in season 1: Nightwing and Flamebird.
Yeah, no, I think there's a danger that it turns into, oh, it's a vigilante show.
Well, no, because you don't, because he's not the main character. You have the presence in the set. You're still following Seg and whatever he's doing mainly.
Oh, so he's not Nightwing now.
So, no, in my scenario in my head, he's not Nightwing now. There's a Nightwing and Flamebird around, and maybe it's the mystery of who it is.
Okay. You can even tie those into the political stuff. Like, what, you know, are their objectives? Are they like, okay, they're with Black Zero, they're like, you know, fighting for them, they're taking out the guards and stuff like that?
Yeah, possibly they're neutral, possibly whatever. There's potential.
There is.
There's things you could do. So yeah, obviously not perfect. We the character work, as we said, is kind of, you know, hum-ho, like, you know, when they're lying in bed together, like, oh, we can't be together, I just want to be with you. And then it's like, oh, we can never be together. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Like, yeah,
it's definitely the least interesting part of the show right now.
But episode 1 had enough stuff in it of plot, of visuals, of ideas.
Some really nice music as well, outside of the Superman theme.
Yeah, because I think, obviously you mentioned the Superman music, but even the build-up to that music coming in as they're flying and stuff was really good.
It always suits the what's on screen. You know, like all the synthy stuff going on in the city, when we got like the wide shots of the cities, stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's nice.
So I think we've talked about it.
I think we have.
We didn't go through the plot, kind of like, plot line by plot line like we usually do, because we just kind of
I think we do that less in episode 1 anyway. Because introductions, it's like, okay, here's what the show is.
Yeah, we dove in more deep to the everything else.
DC mythos.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that Jaina is like, wait, you made this brat, like, you know, you give him rank again, he's going to like be important. He's probably involved. I think he was on that ship because she's suspicious of him the whole time. And I think,
but she knows that her daughter's into him, so she's kind of protecting him to some level.
Yeah, whereas Darren, I think his own ego is going to be the end of
his downfall. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Wasn't that a fantastic discussion? My, we are intelligent and witty and charming.
All that stuff, yeah.
But seriously,
I don't know if it's worth adding on a little bit, just a little bonus stuff for here.
Oh, bonus for the podcast, oh my.
Yeah. The exclusives. I did see a couple of articles this week, since it's aired, talking about the future of the season. Mm-hmm. And they mentioned there will be planet hopping this season, because we were discussing that in the review. They mentioned specifically Thanagar and Ran.
Ooh, so that's how we're getting Hawkwoman then.
Yeah, and they mentioned that we will see present day Earth, Detroit specifically.
So we'll just be coming back with Adam Strange then.
Yeah, but we will see some of that side of things.
Oh man, what if we get like glimpses of other heroes or something? Not even like see them, but just like hints of them existing. Like maybe they mention the Justice League. Because this is a sort of show where they can mention the entire Justice League if they want to, because they're just kind of off camera. They're off.
Right.
That'd be interesting.
I thought that was interesting because we'd actually discussed the possibilities of that and going, maybe it'll be this, maybe that's a season 2 thing. But no, we're getting at least some of that this season.
Yeah, the way I'm sort of thinking about it, it's kind of like how in the comics, like Gotham Central, where Batman's around, but we're not focusing on him. It's kind of like that, where if we see a bit of present day stuff, they can mention that Superman's there, they can mention that the Justice League exists, but we're not going to deal with that. So
definitely.
but hey, that's cool. So anyway, so we'll move on to our last thing for the week, which is Young Justice, Season 1, Episode 20. It's called Coldhearted. Should have called it Cold Snap. So because there's an out of nowhere cold snap in this, because we've got
man, that would have been glorious.
Yeah. We mentioned 5 Freeze villains, but Cold Snap unfortunately is not one of them.
He's showing up in Season 3. I'm confident of that.
Oh, spoilers! He's not in Season 2.
I mean, I wasn't particularly familiar with Cold Snap prior to the legend that is Cold Snap appeared in the comics recently-ish.
So basically, it's Wally focused episode. It's Wally's birthday, and he's up. He's happy. Big breakfast. He's like, the only thing that'll make this day better is the look in Miss Martian's face when I get my birthday kiss, and he's all happy. And so this is the episode he finds out about them being a couple then, because they'll set him all up as being happy, too happy. But it's a snow day. But we find out it's a snow day. The big thing before the title music plays is that we see that it's actually fabricated. There's those big snow machines like in the sky, and you're like, okay, all right, okay, this is fun. And it is fun where he knows he's getting a surprise party, and he's you've been hinting for days, Wally, shut up. And he's like, oh, I made 2 cakes. Oh, what are you guys going to eat? You know, just little jokes like that.
And I think Miss Martian goes, oh, we'll split the cupcake.
Yeah. But he's flirting incessantly with Miss Martian. He's kind of like, oh, I've made my wish. I can't say it, but if you were to guess it. And she kisses him on the head. And he's like, okay, it's innocent. Of course, notably, Artemis is looking very jealous during all this.
She is not happy at all, is she?
And then she looks very relieved. She gets a little smirk when it's just a kiss in the head. And then she's like, we should probably tell him, right? It's like, let me! I'll do it! Yeah. I'll do it. And she goes, the only thing I thought was missing for this, because she sits down behind him and she sort of whispers in his ear, and he's like, no, you can't be. And then he looks up and he just sees them like sort of smiling and like,
dabbing cake at each other.
Yeah, dabbing cake in each other's mouths and stuff. And he's like, oh man. And all I wanted was a shot of Artemis from behind, just sort of smirking, like,
yeah, he's mad.
I did that. But she didn't, and that was fine. So basically what this episode became is, okay, so there's these snow villains, or these snow machines in the sky. The League, with the Titans, they need the Titans to do this. They're going to like take these guys down. But we get something of a, and I wasted my Buffy reference earlier, but this is very much the Zeppo episode of Young Justice, because this is the Justice League and the Teen Titans are teaming up for this mega team up. They're doing all this big stuff, saving the world. But we're going to focus on what Wally's doing instead.
We see a little bit of it, like a couple of snippets here or there.
Yeah, which is exactly like the Zeppo, because during the Zeppo episode of course, the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where the world's ending, the apocalypse is happening, the gang's all dealing with it. But Xander's like just a regular human being, so he's left out. So we follow his exploits, and he ends up having this weird zombie plot, and he ends up saving the day because of that. He stops the school from being blown up. During that, but every so often he runs into one of the characters and we see what they're doing, in general. So this is kind of that episode, because Wally's given the task of because all the Zeta beams are out and they can't fast travel. He's given the task of speedrunning a heart for a heart transplant from Boston to somewhere else,
Seattle.
There you go, coast to coast, basically. And it's like, okay, you're going to have 4 hours to do this. And he's like, oh man, first team up with the Justice League. And because at one point, you see, apparently the thing that he gets that gives him the countdown timer also has like live satellite visuals of the fight that's happening. I'll question that. That's a bit weird.
Yeah.
But he sees it, he's like, oh look, it's Aqualad and Robin with Batman and Aquaman and The Flash. Who's missing from that team up?
He is so bitter.
He's so bitter. But he's running, he's dodging and diving, like, and the law enforcement in each of the towns and cities know that there's a speedster running through with this heart, so they're all
trying to clear the roads.
They don't do a very good job, admittedly. But Vandal Savage is in the way. He's there, and he's fighting. And Wally gets he sort of gets his ego get the better of him. He's like, I'm going to stay and beat him. And then he realizes, wait a minute, I've just wasted like 5 minutes, 10 minutes fighting him.
Yeah, it makes sense at first because, okay, Vandal Savage is beating on these people. He should step in, but the people run away, and he sticks around. And he mentions it's 15 minutes he wastes on this
15
fight.
minutes. There you go.
Yeah.
So he speeds off, and he gets to the hospital, and it turns out to be Count Vertigo who's taking the heart. It's a trick. But I actually literally went, wait, what? When he gets there and like, oh, the girl's dead. She died earlier than we expected.
12 minutes ago. And
he still had, to be fair, he still had 20 minutes left, so he still thought he was in time.
Right, he thought, well, because
Yeah.
that's the time that you need for that to get the heart, but that doesn't mean that she couldn't have died before that.
Oh,
Like
of
that's
course,
just
yeah.
so it's like it's plausible.
And I thought for oh man, this is darkish. He
And
was so
he's
happy at the start of this episode, and
right,
they're making him learn that every second
and
counts.
he's so guilty because he spent 15 minutes on Savage.
When
So
3 was enough.
right, and that's
Yeah.
it. It's 12 minutes, so it's like, oh man, if he hadn't done that.
Yeah, and of course it turns out not to be her. And this is the thing, they pull this on me twice because he fights Count Vertigo, and he gets the heart, he rushes back round, he gives it to the doctors, they go off, and then we see, because we actually see Wally's parents find out the news, like see, they're home, and it comes on the news, Iris is doing the news, and she's like, and it's unfortunate, because it turns out to be this queen of Latva, I think it was, and she's like, despite the best efforts from both Kid Flash and the doctors at the hospital, she passed away, and like the parents are like, oh god, he's going to like be blaming
He's
himself
going to be
for
devastated.
this.
Yeah.
And we think this is happening, and like Count Vertigo's into like, and I don't even get in trouble for this because technically she just died in the operating table. This had nothing to do with me. I get to be king now. And
I'm a king now, full on diplomat community. Do what you want.
oh, which actually really made me laugh during the first scene with Count Vertigo in the car park. When he basically turns into the villain from Lethal Weapon 2, where he's like diplomatic immunity.
pretty much.
That was basically his thing, and then turns out though this was all a ploy. They leaked to the news that she was dead, but she wasn't really. She's actually behind the curtain with a recording device, and he's admitted to everything. So now he's been arrested, and he can get
He tried for treason against the crown, and then
the immunity
that's his,
has been revoked.
Yeah.
Which that was also the badass line on Lethal Weapon 2 right before the bad guy gets shot.
Obviously.
Yeah. Because he's like, diplomatic immunity has been revoked. Boom. Lethal Weapon 2 is really good, by the way.
It is really good, yeah.
Anyway, so... so that was the whole thing, and the girl's like, smiles, and he puts the backpack that he had to carry the heart on the trophy wall.
Because he was given Vertigo's sword as a souvenir.
But he didn't want to remember it with an element of violence. He wanted to remember the life-saving thing that he had that reminds him of the good thing he did.
He really matured this episode, didn't he?
He did. It was kind of a sweet episode. It made a lot of sense. It was a nice focused story, good character development for one character. And yeah, and like I say, there was a lot of humour stuff early on, but then it had some really good points. And there was twice in the episode where I thought, one, okay, he's going to be guilty because he was too late, and then there was, oh no, she's dead. All of it was futile. It didn't matter. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
And both of those worked dramatically for the episode. And then, the final point where he's like, oh well, it turns out the best thing that happened today was seeing that girl smile because I saved her life. Like that was good enough that I don't feel bad that they cheapened out. But at the same time, I'm like, I almost wish they had the balls to stick the death.
No, I know, but it's impressive that they got you twice.
They got me twice, and then it didn't feel cheap because the actual ending also had a good point as well. So all of it worked, but the dark part of me is like, I kind of wish he died just so that we'd feel the pain.
Wally had to live with that.
But then he wouldn't be as fun-loving, so I guess that would also be a negative for the show if he went all.
But it's a really great episode.
Really great. It's been on a roll, basically.
It is. I know next week is the one I've been looking forward to for a while, because you find out the Hello Megan stuff is, I believe, in the next one.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, you get some more on that stuff.
I shall look forward to that, but that is it. Zatanna's still around as well. Don't see much of her in this epised, but
she's living in the base.
Yeah, Robin's got a crush. She's making his moves. But so that's Young Justice, which does lead us to picking our favourite episode of the week out of the new stuff. Of course, we're talking about. So we get three options really. We get Legends, we get Black Lightning, we got Krypton. That was the three new shows this week. And obviously Krypton was really surprising, and we were really optimistic after watching it because it did a lot of nice things that we weren't expecting. But really pumped. Of course, the villain in particular was really nerdgasm moment. Oh, yeah. I still think I have to give it to Legends though.
That's fair. I was torn between the two as well. I'm like, Legends is probably the better episode.
And Black Lightning was very good as well. I don't want to say it. I think it was a really solid week between the three of them.
It was, yeah. But don't get me wrong, Legends was probably the best episode. But Krypton came out of that feeling the most hopeful about the show going forward. Like it came out just I was expecting to go and hating it, and I came out going, oh shit, I think this could be a great show in time.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, so definitely the pleasant surprise of the week, if nothing else.
Yeah.
So no, there you go. So that is television from the multiverse. Let us know what you thought of the episodes this week. Obviously, next week we have Arrow back, but not Flash, which is just a cruel twist of fate. So you can expect that. There won't be a fill-in next week because we'll still have 4 full shows. Well, we'll have Legends, Black Lightning, Arrow, and Krypton plus Young Justice. So that's enough for an episode. Which basically means that the week after we're going to be pulling extra duty by doing 5 of the bloody things when all 4 are on plus Krypton. But hey, what we gotta do? Those are the breaks. But that is what's coming next week. So let us know what you thought of this week's episodes in the comments. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz or at DC Comics Podcast for more DC focused related tweets. Typically tweeting out comic art and retweeting comic creators and stuff if you're into that. Otherwise get us on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can support us over there, support the channel and the show and everything we do. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Cape TV shows and everything else, and always remember that sometimes we screw things up for the better.